Hello, everyone. Welcome to the May 12th edition of Trips and Traps. I'm Richard Migliori, joined by my main man, Ernie Munich. And Ernie, what a difference a week makes. We were freezing out here last week, and it's absolutely gorgeous today.
Well, you thrived in near freezing temperature. Maybe we can get it back again today.
Well, it was like a cold slap in the face, but I always did good on the inner track at Aqueduct, so hopefully we can pair up buyers today. We've got some interesting races to look at, and some of it run on some muddy tracks, so, we got to take it with a grain of salt. But let's jump right into it and go to race 4 on May 4th, and we're looking at the 3-horse, Jennifer's Legacy, under Dylan Davis, who I might have to talk about. Dylan has been riding lights out.
As we're watching this, and you're going to see, I'm going to get to Dylan in a moment, you're going to see number 3, Jennifer's Legacy, going to start to climb a bit, about the 7/8, and then about even earlier, right here, you're going to see right there is going to start climbing. Mig, never really happy, right in there. But Mig, Dylan Davis, yesterday, and this is a Thursday, he starts this week as he ended last week, completed 3 superfectas at odds of at an average of 20-1, and then is second in the finale at 19-1, second in the stake at a huge price. What's up, Mig? What's up?
Well, you know what? You learn more about a rider when they're riding horses that don't look great on paper, and they're finishing second, third, fourth, and giving their horses opportunities to win or to run their best, and that's what Dylan is doing consistently. Getting back to Jennifer's Legacy, she got to climbing because that was when she really got the full brunt of the kickback, the mud being thrown back in her face. I thought she did a nice job of getting her to settle, and she was in good position around the turn here, where I thought she actually had a chance to win it, turn it for home.
Yes. Now, this race and a race we're going to get to in a little while are on the slow side. And that's always a concern when you have these trips and slow races, but still, you got to hope they run back with slow horses and maybe get lucky. You're going to see Jennifer's Legacy there, keeps plugging along. And Mig, this was a track that was favoring speed, holding well all day, and she never, ever was anywhere close to the lead, and at the end kept fighting away.
Well, she kept coming. It was interesting, too, Ernie, because I made a note watching this race that I thought the 3, Jennifer's Legacy, would improve with blinkers. And the reason I felt that way is, you can see, she gets out in the clear here. Dylan goes out her left-handed. Watch her head as they come through the final furlong. It's barely perceptible. She's kind of looking at the horses inside of her. And I think if she had blinkers, she might have dropped her head and leveled off a little bit more.
Now, you're now looking at this from a trip handicapper's point of view. When you were riding, can you really get a feel confidently when a horse needed blinkers?
Yeah, I was always very well in tune with that. I mean, I also came up under a contract, so you were constantly working with horses and looking for ways to improve them because that was your core of horses to ride. I really believe watching this filly, she will be a better filly with blinkers, and I think she'll be better for the experience, mud in her face, going long. I think this filly's got a big chance to really step up her game next time.
You know, it's interesting. Her mom handled slop, but she also ran okay on grass, so that's an option also. I wouldn't be frightened off by grass. Again, better if she comes with similar stock because I don't know how fast she is.
Well, they were looking for turf here. This race rained off the turf, so they probably have the same thing in mind. I like this filly. I'm going to follow her back. I think she's got a chance to really step her game up.
Cool.
We're going to head to the very same day, and just 2 races later, race 6 on May 4th, and we're going to take a look at Slapstick, one of the few races that stayed on the turf. Watch Slapstick. He tries to hip check the rail.
You ain't kidding. And this is the biggest trip we're going to have for everyone today, Mick. Adios. And then, after the sharp veering from the start, is not going to stay inside, Mig. What's going to happen here?
Well, Joel Rosario did a really good job just staying in the middle of Slapstick because he made a hard left. But then, as a rider, you want to get their attention because you want to get them going forward. And I think Slapstick got to running off a little bit, and Joel kind of angled out to make sure he had control of him, so he wasn't put in a position where he had no escape route.
And we can see it again here from the pan angle. You could almost tell how sharply.
I mean, he's out of the saddle there.
Isn't that something?
I mean, look where his leg is. He's basically on top of the saddle there. This was athletic prowess at its finest by Joel just to get back in the middle of it.
And I love that you say that because I'm excited that I get just a vibe. and, my vibe could be wrong, and it often is, but I get a feeling we're starting to see the Joel of old, of a couple of years ago. He's starting to get, to use your term, the hands and heels are coming out. I love that.
Man, what a strong hand ride. What a strong finisher. Now, this horse, his trip, he kind of got him going forward. He ran off a little bit, and then he got him to settle, and then he got away from him around the turn. This was a very herky-jerky type of trip, and I agree with you. I think Joel's riding lights out. He was injured at Gulfstream. Sometimes injuries are a blessing in disguise because a rider probably gets a little tired than they realize mentally and physically, and that freshening, I think Joel is riding tremendous.
It's very interesting. They say similarly with musicians. Sometimes you're so close to the music, to the notes, you just need a break to clear your head, maybe a force break like an injury. And Mick, right here, it's a little hard to follow. He is farther back than you think. The purple, where is he, right? Where's that circle? There he is. He's back farther than you think, and yet, keep an eye on him at the end.
Well, I thought he really got his act together finally the last eighth of a mile. Out in the clear, he finished well. Now, remember, this is a horse that hadn't run since November of last year. He gets off to that catastrophic start, and I think this is a race, out of everybody out of this race, this is the one I want. Even more than Storm and Steven, who they've been, kind of heads apart in the past. They both came off a similar layoff. Actually, I think they both came out of the same race. I think I want Slapstick out of this.
I agree 1,000%. And maybe not now, but go back, people, and watch that red chiclet in the last 200 yards. The only one moving ahead of the horses is the red chiclet.
Yeah, and Tom Morley's barn has been very live.
Bam.
Won with a maiden, first-time starter 2-year-old yesterday.
Who you picked.
Yeah,
I heard from someone.
Real nice-looking horse. I mean, so it's interesting. I do think that Slapstick's the horse I want out of this race.
Agreed.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to go turn the page to May 5th, and we're going to go to the 9th race, another race that stayed on the turf. We had a little bit of give in the ground. This is a tiny little filly veil dance that I just happened to be watching the post grade and said, wow, I couldn't get over how small she is. And she's kind of covered up and buried in behind horses. So we're going to wait until we can really discern where she is when she comes out of the pack enough. And I think a little bit is because she's so little. Now there, you'll see her. That's Johnny Velasquez. Mainly blue body. White body, blue sleeves, blue cap.
Number 7. And it's an interesting situation, Nick, because I never, whether it was traffic or first-time education or pace, whatever it was, it seemed that Johnny never was really able to really ask her till very late. Now, this again was another slow race, just like earlier, but an interesting trip because there was interest late from this filly.
Well, I think she really finished with interest, and we're even going to show you the gallop out where I think she kind of tipped her hand that she's okay, and I think she can move really far forward off of this race. Dave Donk, a guy who gets a horse ready for a career, not so much a race. And I think as small as this filly was, and I did make note of that, to be honest with you, I think she's okay, and I will bet her back. I think that she got a good education. I think she learned a lot. I think she got a lot of the race physically as well.
You see her now? Now see the number 7. She's in between horses, and Johnny, well, you want to go outside? Well, maybe not. It's going to open for him here, but you see it, even when there's some space here, Johnny is not all in. He maybe, if he cracks her twice, I'd be surprised. But see how far back is she now from the lead? How far back is she?
She's got to be close to 10 lengths off the lead at that point.
It's close to that, if not that much. Watch what's going to happen at the very end of this race. And again, slow horses, but if these same horses run back together, oh, there she comes.
Yep.
Now watch the gallop out. It's not a great gallop out, but it just shows you how much closer she is to those front runners in the end. And she will be, there she is.
Well, there she is on the
7.
outside. She's within 2 lengths of the lead here, so she made up a great deal of distance and not under a ride. Johnny's actually pulling her up at this point, and she made up that ground. I think this filly tipped her hand that she's okay, and I think probably a little bit of greenness, a little bit of lack of fitness, and never being in a real comfortable spot where Johnny could really shower down on her. I think this was a great first start and something to really build on.
I love these Escandareas because they run on any surface, really. Synthetic, dirt, grass. I'm just a little surprised that you get an Escandarea who is such a hulking horse who's this size, right? I don't remember. I remember the name Robbins tuned the dam and ran a lot, but I don't remember her physically. I'm guessing she was small. I'm guessing.
Well, she gets it from someplace, but you know the old adage, Mrs. Mays had 11 children. She only had 1 Willie.
I love it. I love it.
We'll turn the page on to May 6th, race 5, and this is debatable whether this is a trip, but I thought this was interesting. We're talking about the outside horse, Lotta Esparada, a filly that has shown she does her best running on the lead. She's not a filly that passes horses, and maybe because of the outside post, Jose Ortiz, maybe first time riding her, Kendrick Carmouche, her regular rider, normally sends her off her feet. He kind of allowed her to gallop in third, and it's a perfect spot for 95% of the horse population. Not for her.
It's funny. I believe in chemistry between jockey and horse. Maybe too much to it to my detriment. However, I agree. This horse who likes to be in the game closer. The first quarter was moderate, so even for her to be a few lengths off of a moderate first quarter already, I think she's just asking a little bit too much. And, from here on in, Meg, I just think she's already kind of lost interest.
Yeah, she's not a filly, and we've seen races where she's in front and horses get by her and she battles back because she's very game up on the lead.
Yes, that race in particular I'm thinking about.
Yeah, and she almost came back and won it, and you thought she was dead at the quarter pole. Now, all that being said, I think in some respects this is a bit of a trap because I like this filly, but I like this filly better around 2 turns. I do not think she's as good around 1 turn. And also, I think you can't let anybody else entertain the idea of the lead. You have to come out as though I want the lead at all costs.
Very interesting. Now, a horse doesn't get too hyped, Meg, when you come out with that attitude?
Well, it
just depends on the horse?
Well, it's definitely an individual thing. It seems to me, though, every time she's been ridden hard and makes the lead, then she rates herself on the lead.
Isn't that something?
Now, when she's chasing, though, she's just not as game a filly.
It's very interesting. And, and here is a horse who's on the lead, another Bernardini relishing. You just look at Bernardini, which means AP Indy, which means Seattle Slew, and that takes you back to the slop right here at Belmont Park and the Jockey Club Gold Cup. But my sweet girl, really, really relishing this surface.
Well, the only reason I wanted to watch this race more than anything else is I think it's a clear illustration of a horse that, A, needs the lead and needs to be ridden that way, and B, wants 2 turns. These 1-turn races are just such a different dynamic.
So maybe Meg in August or out of town maybe for this girl.
Yeah, I look up and see this filly off a little freshening in Saratoga, 2 turns, I'm all over her.
Cool.
Here, around 1 turn, I'll kind of take a wait-and-see approach.
And maybe Kendrick will be back. Maybe.
Well, and I do think she likes Kendrick. They do have a certain chemistry.
Yeah.
Me and Ernie, we have a certain chemistry. Of course, we need your help. Don't forget, Trips and Traps, NYRAINC.com. We'll see you right back here next week.